Peace, family. This is your boy Gerald. It is Friday, the 14th of November 2021. How is everybody doing? So, I was kind of contemplating if I was going to hit the record button, and before doing so, I was kind of pondering on the events that took place today for myself. But first and foremost, how is everybody doing? How was your week? Did you like all the things that you saw? All the things that played out in your day to day? Did it resonate to who you are now? Because I know some of y'all, there were some upheavals going on, wasn't it? There were some unannounced surprises. But if that was the case, just know that was an attempt to sway your focus. May it be good or bad. I don't like using the word bad. I'll say not so good. Because you are on the path of evolving who you really are. And to do that, just like if I would use the example of the onion, it took time for that onion to develop from its original state. And as you notice, the deeper you go, the stronger the impact, no different than the deeper you go to the core of an onion, the stronger the aroma. Who am I talking to? So I'm sitting back. I made a point to put the tags in the previous video um, because it went longer than I thought it would, and I wanted to make a part two. Now, if you want to see that part two, I need a thumb up. I need for you to get behind this video here, and I will continue because there was a whole lot that I have yet to discuss. But with all my videos, it is only designed and it is only made for the intended heart, intended mind, and the intended time. He said, well, why is that, Gerald? Why can't I just watch all your content? And I pretty much proverbially take the meat, throw away the bones. Because if you choose to do that, it may be something that it may be so minuscule or so small that will change the paradigm of the point. And my whole position, the whole reason why I do it is to validate where you are at a minimum that you understand you are priceless. That you understand you are unique. Now, granted, there may be people in your life that you share common interests, but the word common means like minded. So you share a commonality of a certain thought process. But it is not until you decide to truly, truly invest in what makes you you, what makes you unique, what sets you apart from the rest, from an authentic place, can you understand how creative, how destined your life was meant the moment you took your first breath. Now, unfortunately, because we're in 2021, we're almost on the home stretch of bringing a closure to this year. And as I've always historically done, the end of the year, I always make a video reflecting on this year, but also speaking into the next one. Because 2022, if you are ready, you are going to watch your life be transformed. However, if you had the ability, or if I had the ability, to stand you in front of that proverbial door, I know one thing for certain: I can't make you take the first step. Nor can I convince you to understand what makes your foundation or what makes you you. That only happens when you decide to embrace a position of introspection, to reflect, to review, to proverbially turn every stone in your life so that you, with, without a doubt, have proverbially turned every stone. That's going to take time. Because what you may not realize is the person that you once were is not the person who you are. But the person that you're destined to be is relying on the person that is now will do what's required so that conversation can so that can happen. So in other words, let's just say, let's say your sticking point this year was your finances. But yet, proverbially, in the future, your future you has mastered everything that is required. And they are standing on their foundation. And they are looking back. They are already reflecting on whence they came. Do you realize how significant the decisions that you make will play a role in navigating to who you really are? I mean, think about it. Now, this may be a call or a sense of urgency, while others, unfortunately, they will remain still. And you say, well, why, Gerald, would a person choose to remain in the reality that they're in if they had the opportunity to change for the better? It's quite simple. You see, we have the ability to hold on what I call the living constant, and hold on with it with such vigor or grip that we would not betray that emotion, then have the ability to step into the unknown. And for a lot of people, that frightens them. They're terrified to do something that is unknown. Why? Because the result possibly can be growth, evolution. Your life was never meant to be stagnant. Let that sink in. And I'm going somewhere with this, so enjoy the ride. But I got to get you to see what I'm trying to convey. I'm trying to intercede from someone possibly who may be navigating from a position of emotion than logic. Why am I saying this? Some of you may not realize the same loyalty that you bestow to the people that are found in your reality is a fraction of what should be already instilled in you. As I mentioned in the last video, Do you realize how many people are walking around on this planet? Over 7 billion people. 50% of them would just, if they could have one moment to feel whole, feel validated, feel accepted, be understood, they would trade what they are today for that mere moment. What's wrong with that? Why is that such topsy turvy, so to speak? Why are we choosing our pride over our position? So, what do you mean pride over position? What I'm talking about is instead of being optimistic at who you're going to become, you choose who you know. And does it not surprise you that when there's calamity, there's disappointment, there is, um, unfortunately for some, betrayal? Instead of looking at it logically of what has been revealed, we are the first ones to make excuses. Who am I talking to? But y'all, I don't understand. We were good yesterday, and today we're like at each other's throats. It's like they don't know me. They don't get me. It's like they changed. You ever heard that? It's not that they changed. You're moving in such a vibration spiritually that the mask that they once wore can't endure that. And you're being given the opportunity to proverbially remove the rose colored glasses called denial, deflection, um, and there's so many others that we can use as descriptive words. And we're terrified what is truly seen. But there's a reason for that, family. I'm trying to get y'all to see that. You should not be, I feel this in my spirit right now. Why are you in your 20s? Who am I talking to? That you are convinced that this is who you are going to be because of events and examples shown. Who am I talking to? In one aspect, you're saying, I done heard that before, Gerald. But if you've heard it before, why won't you choose to apply it? Try something different. Embrace something new so that you can possibly critically think. Then go by the status quo. I'll say this. See, I know that was a validation because what you just heard was, you may hear underlining, you'll hear a pop. Traditionally here on the island, they do fireworks as of a way of celebration, maybe a birthday or a major milestone, and they will pop firecrackers. They'll pop firecrackers like it's 4th of July over here, or New Year's. Depends on. You hear this go off, especially on the weekends, all through the weekend. That's just cultural. That's just the culture over here. But it just amazes me. I remember when hip hop, legendary hip hop group Digital Underground, the lead rapper was Humpty Hump slash Shock G. And they did this song called All Around the World, same song. Really what they were saying is, as much as they traveled, they saw the same narrative in the human dynamic. It didn't matter what the mother tongue may have been, but the behavioral example was always familiar. Good, bad, or indifferent. And a lot of that was fear-based. or fear induced. Why? Because it's a tactic of controlling or stagnating your progression in life. I used to always echo, and from time to time, I will actually um, implement this in my videos. I always say, you will not know who you truly are until you hit your 30s. For guys, it could be 35. For women, because women progress 7 years ahead mentally, we're talking 28, 27, 28 years old. Why? Because you are one man. You are given the gift of discernment. That's why you hear women say, a mother knows, a woman's intuition. Why? Because that's a spiritual gift. So if you know that is a spiritual gift, why won't you claim it if it's already within you? Why do you take so much effort to um, demarginalize it or proverbially water it down? You realize how many scenarios you see this where someone wants to fit in to the point, well, intellectually, they will water down their intellect. We may know it as dumbing down. But what price does that have when it comes to your heart? What price does it yield when it comes to your physicality or your uniqueness? Because I say this simply through examples that I've seen in my own life. The greatest gift bestowed from a woman to a man is her being, her body. It is right up there compared to a diamond or a snowflake, because no two are the same. But one thing I've come to learn is this: if she has not been influenced by an example of her own being, so that means young girl is inspired by an older woman or a woman that is coming into her adulthood, what template do we show or share for those that will come after us? Because one thing's for certain, we can agree no person knoweth the time or moment that they're going to take their last breath. But with that being said, what happens to the example? What happens to the wisdom? What happens to the uniqueness or the acceptance of just being you? Far too many times we see the same story play out. You have a young woman trying to navigate her life so that she can always lift her head with grace. But depending on the examples that are placed in her life, the highs, the lows, the not so examples of indifference, she gets lost in the wilderness called life. You may know that is your reality in a town near you, in a city near you, in a state near you, worldwide. This human dynamic is shared by all. But what bewilders me is this: everybody claims they want love, but they do nothing to prepare for it when it comes. That's why you will always hear me echo this: queens, stop looking for your king. King, do not look for your queen. Both prepare for them, because they will be a living example or representation not only of your emotional mental state, but they will have the ability to protect and hold your heart. I'm going to talk to. And we wonder why in 2021 there are so many soul ties being birthed through pain, through distrust, through agony, through emotional storms, through setbacks, or worse, because we fail to acknowledge what is true. You realize there is somebody right now seeing this video, and before you cut this video on, the first thing you did was you went to your cell phone. You looked into your text app and you wondered why haven't they responded? You're dealing with the ghost phenomena. And if this is you, I want you to know this. Breathe through it. Be grateful. Take accountability. But love yourself more. So why would I do that, Gerald? They've been there. They know my secrets. They know my lows. They know my pleasures. I've allowed myself to be vulnerable to this person only to be rewarded silence. Why? Just maybe, perhaps, because we have a jealous but loving Most High. The things that wove the relations together were severed so that you can finally feel what your foundation feels like and build from it. I mentioned on my last video why so many people, when the price tag comes, you may know this as your rock bottom. I know this as your emotional storm. Only 50% of those people will become who they're destined to be. Hold that thought. While the other 50% will be frozen in time. They will be on the emotional treadmill, and the littlest accent of connection will play out in their mind over and over and over again. Kind of like, just thinking about it makes me think about legendary R&B icon Prince when he did the song well over 15 years ago, Thieves in the Temple. Remember that? Love will come quick, love come in a hurry, there's thieves in the temple tonight. Why'd you hurt me? When in actuality, what is being required is for the soul to purge. The tears come then. You try to hold on to your pride. You try to shore it up with your ego. You take a defensive stance instead of a vulnerable state. You don't turn on nothing that will remind you. You even gone to the extra steps of, instead of holding a position of grace, you take a position of destruction. I don't have to remind you that. All you gotta do is look on social media, and you'll see an example of what not to do. Oh, I'll fix him. I'm gonna break his car. I'm gonna tear up his clothes. I'm gonna destroy where he lays his head. To no avail. Only to get a mark on your social called a jail record. Only to be forced to pay restitution to someone that did not deserve to hear you breathe. Who am I talking to? It kind of reminds me of the time I spoke on this a couple times when I was in Virginia in my last command, and I had this heartfelt conversation with this sailor, and she told me that, well, if he doesn't disrespect me and call me out my name, he don't love me. And I was shocked because I was like, who taught you that? Don't you know that love does not hurt? There's no concession when it comes to your happiness. There's no trade-off when it comes to your inner peace. Because that person knows the responsibility, or should know the responsibility, of protecting your heart. So that is why I mentioned yesterday, there is no benefit by taking the shortcut. You know, I'ma just, if I can't beat them, I'm gonna think like them. If they want to get out there, I'm gonna do that twice on Sunday. I'm gonna show them. And what happens? You got an STD now. You got an unwanted pregnancy. You got financial restitution because of impulse done by emotion, not love, not logic. And let me tell you something, because this may be you. Nobody wants to feel like they're holding the proverbial bag when a relationship fails. The instant reaction, most people that have invested, you instantly blame yourself for the failure to sustain it. When the truth of the matter is, these people could not and would not know what commitment if you put it in their hands. Why? Because they're reciprocating the environment and experiences they have yet to master. Who am I talking to? All he want to do is get out there and mess with them women. I could have said another word, but I'm not going to. All he want to do is sling. But underlining, you're thinking, if he only showed me a fraction of that same energy, I'd be happy. No, you wouldn't. You would actually be delaying the inevitable, because that person that stood before you didn't know integrity if you could put it in their back pocket, because they did not have integrity within themselves. So if they didn't have the ability to understand the importance of integrity, how could they be able to give you truth? How could they be able to have a decent conversation to tell you what they needed all along? But how can you even make that request if you have yet to know who you are? Do you realize how many people have been indoctrinated to believe that as long as I have my virility, what I mean by virility is your youth, as long as I have the physical, I can make up for what I lack. Well, you know what the greatest thief when it comes to lack is? Time. And if you don't have time, how can you truly be able to understand you? How is it possible? And you'll notice in the midst of your lowest low, the people that don't have your best interest, oh, they blowing your phone up. Because they're tuning in. Why? Because unfortunately, they don't see the friend, they see the entertainment. Oh, I know I'm pissing somebody off now. The first moment that you try to step out into the unknown territory, we're talking about who you're destined to be. They're the first ones to try to talk you off that ledge from commitment. Oh, what do you mean you want to start walking? No, I ain't got time for that. But be the first person to call you to say, hey, we're going to this all you can eat spot over here. I got your bill. Why? Because they knew from the first hello what your strengths were. But here's the kicker about that. If you don't know what your significance is, how can you protect it? How can you truthfully say, you know what? I'm not going down that path no more. Or better yet, how can you feel comfort, find comfort in your discomfort to actually come to a place of acceptance of identifying what you need? And while you're in flux, now you become the belle of the ball because now you're getting that attention that I call them spiritual wolves look for as prey. Because they already know you're going through something. But they the same ones waiting to tell you what you need to hear. No. What you want to hear. To bring down your defenses. Only to have you looking at the ceiling. Only to have you digging in your pocket. Only to put you in more risk before you gave them access to put things in play. Who am I talking to? So that is why I put the video out yesterday. What is the price to be you? Because until you're able to allow yourself to do the work, will you be afforded through consistency to understand your purpose? That's what's really at stake. Does it surprise you every time you decide to take a position of pride or ego and do things? You always get disappointment because you're like, I knew this wasn't good for me before I left out. Why did I waste my gas? Why did I waste my time? Why did I put myself on risk? You know why that's playing out? You ready for this? Because that little boy, that little girl that lives in you still has gotten to a place of saying, okay, since you don't want to listen to me, that's what that inner voice is. That's your conscience. You might know this is your discernment too. It's saying, okay, Miss Bulletproof, Mr. Hard Rock, I done told you don't go down that road, but you won't listen. Okay, let's test the theory. And what ends up happening? You become numb. The insecurity takes a role in your physical being to convince you, to put you at risk. Who am I talking to? Even to the point of embracing behaviors that are not of you. You don't believe me? Think back to what you was, where you were a year ago. Some of y'all might need to go back 5. And you look at that person. Put them in your mind. And then you look at the person that's in the mirror now. Some of y'all can't do it. Because you know that is too painful, you emotional. That is a linchpin that will proverbially have you feeling like a house of cards coming down. Who am I telling to? Some of y'all have gotten to a point of denial that you actually believe that the person you've become is the person you were supposed to be all along. Well, if that was the case, why does it hurt so much? Why is it that the things that you know proverbially, if you were placed in the midst of it, it will bring the real you out? How many times you know, okay, all right, Queens, this is what I'm talking about. You out and about with your circle, and you happen to see somebody that's a couple and they happy, they smiling, and you hear one of your peers say something disrespectful to shake the proverbial apple cart over because they loathe what they see. But really, them same people doing this are begging to be what they see. They wish they could have that experience. They wish they could embrace that example. You know why you see that example? Because those are the things that you rightfully deserve if you commit to yourself. Now, let me make this clear. Because a lot of people think what I'm describing is selfishness. And I'm not. Because when you choose to take a position of selfishness, you have basically decided that everything that has connection to you, physically, emotionally, it is going to fall apart. And it's going to continue to not sustain until you decide to connect back to your true self. Who am I talking to? You remember that little girl that used to swing? Remember the dreamer? Remember that artistic person you once were, that when you were in the midst of your environment, they tagged you or had a pet name of your creativity? Who am I talking to? You can't get those days back Even if somebody put it in your pocket, hey, you dropped you, here you go. Because you have been convinced it makes you weak to be yourself. Okay. But is it no surprising that those same people that stay on that trajectory end up being that little old lady, the little old man that's always miserable where we live? And it makes you feel sorry because you think that no one cares about them. But this is self-induced. This was a chosen path. Why? Because they befriended the pain. They befriended the ego. They embraced their pride. There's a difference between being proud and pride. Proud only spawns love, expression of appreciation. Pride tears it down. But see, society don't want you to see the difference because society knows as long as you choose the lesser of the two, they can make money off of you. They know that you're willing to put a price tag over your dignity. They know that. And all they have to do is use someone that can spread that propaganda. That's why they have algorithms, family, in social media. Why? Because we are what we attract. So if your focal point is how to drop it like it's hot, how to be expressive in the negative sense, or the tough girl, or tough guy, why do you think we got cemeteries, family? 50% of them shouldn't have been there to begin with. But the price tag was ransoming the other side of your life. You realize how many people have yet been able to tap in to their true identity? And they're willfully walking around this planet called Earth like modern day zombies. Who am I talking to? I got a feeling right now somebody wants to be heard. Somebody wants to be understood. Somebody wants to be appreciated. Someone wants to be valued. Somebody proverbially wants to turn the page. But you can't turn the page until you're willing to go back. Who am I talking to? That's why society likes to use emotional trigger words like karma. You know why they use that word karma? Because there's no accountability to the person that bestows it. Because there's a difference between the word karma and truth. You got to peel that layer back. You got to be willing to look at what's underneath. No different than lifting the proverbial welcome mat in front of you where you lay your head. You got to go underneath. You got to have the courage to lift what's hidden, to see, does it have a right to be in your life experience. There's no skeleton key when it comes to your life. But there are always going to be footsteps. Just like legendary R&B group the Isley Brothers, they had a song called Footsteps in the Dark. Why am I, what's it, why am I hearing footsteps, baby, in the dark, oh, in the dark. My voice is cracking. But yes, because you could turn around and use that example, fam, when it comes to your psyche. You realize how many people are going through life in the past? How many people that wish they could get back yesterday because of things said, behaviors condoned? But if they really could, they would unwind, undo to claim their friend. You realize how many people without going deep, you could say, who is that one? And after they put their pride down, after they look over their shoulders to remove the apprehension, they will tell you exactly who that person is. Who am I talking to? Even society coined the phrase when it came to you queens of kissing the frog. I got to kiss so many frogs before I can find my prince. But until you understand the queen that you really are, how is you going to be able to know the difference? Why do you think fairy tales existed, family? It's propaganda. Mm-mm. Sorry. It's warm. But why do you think they do that? I know somebody said something smart like, you serve you right. Nah, it's all good. Because I still want you to bring your smile back. I still want you to feel safe. I still want you to embrace your grace and temperance of just being you. Isn't it ironic the same people are saying, oh, that's the ugly duckling. But yet, that same person little didn't know that they were the unpolished diamond. And what happens to a lump of coal through time? Through pressure, transformation, they always glimmer. They always have a luster about themselves. They always indirectly silence the detractors too. Why? Because even through that whole period of time of non-acceptance, they still love themselves. And guess what happens? Them same folks, they get blessed over and over and over again. So when you hear children's stories, storybooks, endings, you know the big resorts, those type of stuff. All those are metaphoric stories or analogies about life. Do you not see how ironic when Christmas time comes, they always have toys that reflect life. If it's a little girl, she got her little cooking set. She's got her dollhouse. If it's a little boy, he's got blue collar toys, or he's out running around like cops and robbers, or G.I. Joe. Those are to basically put the notion, plant the seeds so they can manifest in you becoming another means of profit for society. That's why you got your one percenters out there. They were groomed. They were groomed at a young age. That's why you see other cultures in the world. You see nepotism being played out. You see hypergamy played out. Well, why is that? Because it's biblically written the child is supposed to have a better life than its parents. But if the parent doesn't understand the value of being a parent because they have yet to understand the child within themselves, unfortunately, that child is going to be disenfranchised. So, does it surprise you? You see a bunch, overabundance of queens that are not taking care of their health. Why is it that you're in your early 20s but you're a diabetic today? Do you not know that diabetes is one of the health traits that is hereditary but can be controlled by proper health etiquette? Like exercise, eating correctly. And think about it. If people took, if if people decided to put their health in front of their steps, do you realize how many people will end up 9 times out of 10 reaching their dreams, being happy, being able to make logical decisions that are not inhibited by emotional uh, emotional reaction? Prime example. He out there acting up. And you want to take out your frustration on the person he acting up with, when in actuality you should have that same energy to walk away. Why do y'all do that? I'll tell you why. Because a lot of that is based off of fear and selfishness. Oh, I'm going to show you, I'm going to whoop up on you, but yet you surrender your integrity from not seeing it for what it truly was because they dropped the ball, and you're protecting your dignity in the process. That's why you always hear people say, I always say, not everybody's going to earn the right to know your story or the ability to walk with you. And if they don't have the ability to know your story or the ability to walk with you, how can they have the ability or the responsibility to protect your heart? But society, on the flip side, wants you to embrace the Jezebel mindset. I've echoed this a couple times. If you were never told the story of Jezebel, for those that are familiar biblically, you know about the Jezebel spirit. But if you look at society as a representation, that spirit runs rampant. Because the one thing about the Jezebel spirit sole purpose was to destroy families, to use manipulation and tactics to lure the opposite sex for status, to only inherit a painful death in the end. Let's talk about the book of Job. For those who may not know, in the Book of Job would be like your average middle class person economically. And unfortunately, because Job was moved by pride and ego, the things that he valued one by one, he lost. He lost them. But even through the midst of that loss, he lost his family members, he lost his livestock. He would eventually lose where he laid his head to a fire. Meanwhile, Satan's at work saying, yep, look at him. It's just a matter of time I'll have him doing what I want, be doing my bidding. But because he put the Most High first in every disappointment, you know what he did? He reflected. He looked at the loss and the impact of that said loss. But he never denounced himself nor his spiritual beliefs. And almost 10 to 15 years would pass of setback after setback after setback. He would not be moved. He would not denounce the spiritual belief, the Most High. He would not. And in turn, he was learning through the experience what not to do, what is required to claim you. And you know what happened? Everything that Job lost, he gained back tenfold. Who am I talking to? Because you may have a sexual PhD. None of that matters or has the ability to make someone stay. Who am I talking to? But you're saying to yourself, wait a minute. I was all in it, and in turn that was part of what came with that experience. Well, why is it through that experience they don't value the bond that you and them shared? If anything, it owed you the decency to have a conversation. But because they did not value themselves, how the hell do you expect them to be able to, that's right, value you? I heard somebody say, when it comes to women romance the emotion. They will fall in love with the deception than the truth, even if it costs them their mortality. How many times have you heard that play out? Well, I loved him. I'm standing by him. But the half of the reason why you stood by him because you saw the failure in your direct family. My mama never had anything. She sacrificed. Okay. Well, if she sacrificed so much, why is it that you and she can't have a common vulnerable conversation to have clarity? I'll tell you why. Because they have yet to master it. Because they have yet to take accountability for the position that they played in that dynamic. Who am I talking to? And I'll do you one better. Why do you think menopause occurs with you women? Do not sit up here and say, oh, it's because it's age related, because it's not. Do you not remember Sarah, Abraham's wife, and when she was able to conceive and carry, she was in her late stages of life. Why? Because she had a prideful spirit. And wherever pride remains, growth is not there. Mm-mm. You're not going to be blessed with that. No. I'm sorry to tell you that. I don't care if you can twist it, you can drop it, twist it with a pinch of lime. No. Because what trumps that is this. If he felt all that then, why didn't he afford you the conversations that you needed while you were there? Meanwhile, your circle's laughing at you. They're chit chatting. The people that should have never had access are trying to find the cracks in your life so they can slip right in without accountability. Who am I talking to? There's a whole lot of stuff I want to go into. But just know, a day without a smile is a day wasted. You deserve better. If you're feeling what I'm saying, give me a thumbs up. I'd love to hear from you. If you got any questions, concerns, by all means, inbox me. It doesn't come up below unless it's been vetted. But just know this. Even if it wasn't me, and you heard it from somebody else, that should be your validation there that it is time that you claim your life back. And that cannot happen until you decide to love yourself more. Have a safe and blessed weekend. Peace.